Hello, everyone. So I had this really interesting analogy come in last night when I was falling asleep around the matrix and what we're actually doing here as a human, right? Like, what is this awakening? What are we stepping out of? When is this going to end? So here's the analogy. I want you to imagine that the entire planet has a web, an energetic web that you can't see, okay? And we're going to call that web, it's like a spider web. We're going to call it the matrix. Every single human that is on the earth plane is wrapped in that matrix in some way, shape, or form. There's probably millions now that have started to peel themselves out of the matrix, okay? But when you are born in that, you are born in the web. You're tied up in the web like a spider, like when a spider catches a fly or when a spider catches a bug. They catch that bug and they wrap it in the web. We are born in the web. We don't even realize we're in a web. We don't even realize we're wrapped up in a web. And the web creates our entire reality. It creates the rules that we follow. It creates our behaviors. It creates the way that we see everything. It creates the programming that we have around, oh, I have to go to school here. Oh, I have to follow this religious system. Oh, I have to follow this medical system. Oh, I have to follow this monetary system. Oh my God, there's taxes. Oh my God, this country does it this way. Those are all programs. Those are all part of the matrix. And the matrix is created and made up of consciousnesses, energies. And right now, the large majority of the matrix is made up of low states of consciousness. And the matrix is being controlled by a small number of 13 families. And these families are literally controlling the entire matrix because they are the wealthiest families in the world. And in the matrix, wealth is power. Wealth is control. So what we're doing right now is we are beginning to recognize that we are actually tied to a web. Awakening. How does that happen? It happens when something external brushes against the web and the web starts to move, like wind or March of 2022. Now, there have been many windstorms that have come and rattled the web, letting the humans that are stuck on that web to start to shake. But most of these didn't do much because look at where we are. 2020 came and it was a large tornado that rattled the web. And what happens when the web gets rattled? The little spiders, the little bugs, you and I, start to shake. And when we start to shake, we start to realize that we're in something. Wait a second. What's happening? You start to realize that there are little strings that are attached to your body, i.e. part of the web. And if the windstorm is loud enough, those little strings are going to pop. And all of a sudden you're like, wait, there was a string that was attached right here that's no longer here. What happened? How did I not know that there was an actual string here? Let's call that mainstream media. Right? So many of us grew up with mainstream media, one of the strings of the matrix, and we didn't even realize what it was doing to us. We didn't even realize, okay? And there's so many strings attached, but when an external wind or an external experience comes and rattles the web, the human has the ability to feel the actual web. They start to see what they're in, and that is the most important piece because then the human has choice. Then they can start to say, wait a second, I am in something. I'm being programmed. I'm being mind controlled. I'm being coerced. I'm being brainwashed. And then they start to slowly peel themselves out of the web. One little string at a time, they start to detach themselves from the web. But the key here is that the human doesn't leave the web. They're just detached from the web. Right? And there's deep, deep programming. So even though many humans believe that they are detached from the web, they are still being programmed in many tiny little ways. But here's the other crazy piece. These humans that have detached from the web, that are awakening and that are realizing everything, are now pointing the finger at the little bugs or humans that are still strapped tight to the web. And they're yelling at them and getting mad at them. It's like, dude, you were just strapped to the web. Why are you yelling at these humans that are still strapped to the web, that can't see that they're strapped to the web, that don't even know that they're in a web? You were legit just strapped to the web. Where is your compassion and empathy? So as you walk around the world today and you start waking up out of the web, the matrix, stop blaming others for still being in it. Stop blaming and pointing fingers and creating more divide, because, excuse me, but you were just there, whether it was a year ago, 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, 20 years ago. You're not any better than anyone else just because you awoke out of the web. And most of us that think that we've stepped out of the web aren't even close to stepping out of the web completely. So we have to really bring ourselves back down and say, I'm no better than anyone else just because I see things that they don't see yet. And the other thing is, this web is so huge, full of so much low consciousness, that we have barely seen any of it. And the way that we get through this is that the majority of humans have to start to peel themselves out of this matrix. They have to start to peel themselves out of all of the systems that they have been in. And how do you do that? You have to see that these little strings, systems, are attached to you. You have to see them. You have to see that you've been mind controlled. You have to see all of the sex trafficking. You have to see that all of these really powerful, elite, famous people, religious figures that you thought were so amazing, they are perhaps part of a sex trafficking ring. It's very, very possible that this is going to come out, right? That's part of one of the systems that we are stuck in this matrix, that millions upon millions of humans haven't seen yet and won't be able to hold quite yet. So there are so many of those examples. And the reason that we have to see it is because we have to realize that it's attached to us on an energetic level because it's part of the matrix. And then we get to choose to step out of it. And as more humans see it, they choose to step out of it by acknowledging it and no longer playing in any aspect of it. That allows them to pull themselves out. And as the human collective pulls themselves out of the matrix, the strings of the web, they literally pop. And what happens when the strings of a web start to pop? There's no more web. The web is literally dissolved. So that's what we're doing. We're dissolving the web by seeing every aspect of the web. So although we want to turn our heads and we don't want to see aspects of that web is not going anywhere. This evil is not going anywhere. So we have to learn how to balance the beauty of this world with the evil of the world. And I'm telling you, if you turn your back on the evil, it's not going to go anywhere. We have to face it head on. We have to recognize it's part of the web that we're in. And as soon as you do that, you can recognize if and or when it ever tries to manipulate or control you so that you can continue to pull yourself out of the web. This is a complex yet very simple evolution that we're going through. Hopefully this metaphor will help you. This analogy will help you because it literally destroys divide. Okay, it takes away divide because you're no better than anyone else. And it makes us realize that we're in this for the long haul. And there is nothing wrong with looking at the dark and evil stuff that is happening on this planet, that whether you want to see it or not, it's going to be seen. It is the only way we break the entire web. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being courageous, keeping your heart open, having compassion and empathy for all of those that you can't understand. Have compassion and empathy for those you can't understand because there was a moment in your life where you were there. I love you.